Welcome to the Explainer, everyone. We've got an absolute firecracker of a match to break down today. We're diving deep into a massive Group D showdown under the brightest lights in international football, a FIFA World Cup 2026 clash between Turkey and Paraguay. Both of these squads know exactly what's on the line here. Walking away with 3 points today could literally be the defining factor for their entire tournament. So we're going to tear right into the tactics, crunch the numbers, and look at the key matchups that are going to decide this game. Let's get into it. But right before we look at the hard data, I want you to consider something. What if I told you that tonight's match could be completely blown wide open by one of football's biggest emerging young talents? The core question we're answering today is this: can Paraguay's notoriously tough, gritty defense actually stop Turkey's rising superstars from stealing the show? Well, let's find out.
All right, Section 1, the Group D showdown. It's youth versus physical experience.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because we have two completely different footballing identities stepping onto the pitch today. It's a classic clash of styles. On one side, you have Turkey. They are arriving at this tournament boasting one of the most exciting, technically gifted, and youthful squads in the entire competition. They want the ball, and they want to absolutely dazzle you with it. On the flip side, Paraguay isn't just going to roll over and play into Turkey's hands. No way. They bring a core of hardened veteran experience and immense physical strength. It's an absolute contrast in styles, and honestly, that's exactly what makes this matchup so fascinating to analyze.
Moving on to Section 2, tactics and expected lineups. The 4-2-3-1 versus the classic 4-4-2.
Tactically, we expect Turkey to roll out a 4-2-3-1 formation. Their whole play style focuses about dominating possession and unlocking the opposition through sheer midfield creativity. They want to dictate the rhythm of the game from the first whistle. Paraguay, however, is fully expected to counter this with a very traditional, highly disciplined 4-4-2. Their game plan? Stay incredibly compact defensively, soak up all that Turkish pressure, and then strike back with lightning-fast counterattacks. Now, you know building a great team always starts at the back, so let's examine these defensive units. For Turkey, the highly experienced Uğurcan Çakır is going to be between the posts, hunting for that clean sheet. Right in front of him, the backline is anchored by Merih Demiral. He's their defensive leader, totally famous for his aggressive physical presence and just absolute aerial dominance. He's supported by a really solid mix of experience in Kadioglu, Bardakci, and Çelik. On the other side of the pitch, Paraguay's Orlando Gil has a massive job in goal today. His defense is led by Gustavo Gomez, a true veteran and the heart of this tough, physical unit, flanked by Alonso, Alderete, and Caceres.
All right, let's look at where the magic actually happens, the midfield and attack. Turkey's midfield core is, frankly, devastating. You've got their captain, Hakan Çalhanoğlu, one of Europe's premier playmakers. We all know his lethal long-range shots and free kicks. Right beside him, Orkun Kökçü brings the vision you need to break defensive lines. And ahead of them, the absolute player to watch, Arda Güler. This young superstar has become one of Europe's most exciting talents, and it's all thanks to his incredible vision, dribbling, and finishing ability. Pair him with Kenan Yıldız, plus the direct speedy running of Yilmaz and Aktürkoğlu, and it's a scary front line. Paraguay is going to counter this with the sheer pace of Miguel Almirón. He is their biggest threat, fully capable of creating massive chances on the counter, supported by Babadia, Kubas, and the very exciting Diego Gomez. Up front, you've got Antonio Sanabria and the incredibly fast Julio Enciso leading the line, with Enciso being a major threat from distance.
Section 3, 3 crucial key battles. This is exactly where the match will be won.
Battle number 1 is absolutely essential. On the left, we have Turkey's superstar Arda Güler, bringing his incredible creative vision. On the right, Paraguay's defensive anchor, Andrés Cubas, standing right in his way. The logic here is simple but critical for this match. If Guler is allowed to find space between the midfield and defensive lines, Paraguay is in deep trouble. Cubas has the immense, exhausting task of shutting down those pockets of space for a full 90 minutes.
And this brilliantly illustrates our second key battle. We're pitting Hakan Çalhanoğlu's elite playmaking against Diego Gomez's tempo control. Both of these guys are tasked with controlling the rhythm of the game for their teams. Whoever wins this specific midfield duel will likely dictate the entire flow of the match, whether we see a slow, methodical Turkish possession clinic or a chaotic, fast-paced Paraguayan transition game.
Our third key battle is just a classic, explosive clash of physical attributes. We have Merih Demiral's heavy, aggressive physical defending going right up against Julio Enciso's blistering attacking speed. Enciso's ability to explode into space on the counterattack is going to directly challenge Demiral's positioning and his sheer physicality. For sure, this is going to be one of the most important micro matchups of the night.
Section 4. Clash of playing styles, strengths and weaknesses.
So the real question is how these strengths and weaknesses actually interact on the graphs. Turkey's strengths are obvious: a highly creative midfield, incredible technical quality, and super dangerous set pieces. But their weakness? That intense push for possession can leave wide open spaces at the back, making them incredibly vulnerable to the counter. Meanwhile, Paraguay's main strengths are their physicality, their strong team spirit, and that brutal counter-attacking pace. Their weakness? They struggle to keep possession and lack a bit of midfield creativity. So it's like a giant tactical puzzle. Turkey will have the ball, but they have to be so careful not to walk right into Paraguay's counter-attacking trap.
Which brings us to this powerful insight from our tactical analysis. The psychological stakes in this specific tournament environment are just massive. The first goal literally changes everything. If Turkey scores early, they can relax on the ball and just dictate the game. But if Paraguay's counterattack strikes first, the pressure on this young Turkish side to break down a compact, stubborn defense will compound very quickly.
All right, Section 5, Final Match Prediction. Let's look at it by the numbers.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the mathematical breakdown. When we run the numbers, the advantage leans pretty heavily toward one side. The model favors Turkey with a solid 56% chance of taking the victory. A draw sits at 26%, while a Paraguay upset win is given just an 18% probability. So the data clearly positions Turkey as the mathematical favorites here.
And these expected match stats back up that win probability perfectly. To put that into perspective, Turkey is expected to hold about 58% of the ball, compared to Paraguay's 42%. And all that possession translates directly into expected shots: 13 for Turkey, 8 for Paraguay. So the stats are telling a very clear story of Turkish dominance on the ball, leading to far more scoring opportunities.
Taking all of this into account, the tactical superiority in the midfield, the individual brilliance of the youngsters, and the statistical probabilities we just looked at, the definitive predicted scoreline for this matchup is a 2-1 victory in favor of Turkey.
Let's break down exactly who's going to make the difference to get us to that 2-1 score. The predicted goal scorers for Turkey are the young phenoms themselves, Arda Güler and Kenan Yıldız. For Paraguay, the counter-attacking threat Julio Enciso is our pick to find the back of the net. Unsurprisingly, Arda Güler is our predicted player of the match. And definitely keep an eye out for Orkun Kökçü as the dark horse today. His line-breaking passes might just be the quiet key to unlocking the whole game.
So, to summarize our final verdict here, make no mistake, Paraguay has quality players. Miguel Almirón and Julio Enciso are fully capable of producing moments of absolute brilliance, and their physical defense is going to make things difficult. However, Turkey simply possesses more creativity in the midfield, higher overall technical quality, and arguably some of the very best young talents in world football today. If Çalhanoğlu controls the tempo and Guler performs like we know he can, that technical superiority will overcome the physical defense to secure all 3 points. Turkey are clear favorites to win this match.
And that brings us to the most important part of this explainer. What do you think? Do you agree with this 2-1 prediction for Turkey? Or do you think Paraguay is going to pull off a massive defensive masterclass and steal the show? Let me know who you think will be the true hero of the match. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and enjoy the beautiful game, everyone.